Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Friday, July 17th. I'm Andrew McKeever, the news director at GNAT-TV's News Project. Pleasure to have you with us today for our weekly update of local goings-on News Project Live on Facebook Live. Well, as we all know by now, I'm sure, there was one big story that happened this week, and that was the whole concern about possible arrival of a major upsurge of COVID-19 cases and infections down here in the North Shire. Began last Saturday with a couple of reports about a few cases, but that quickly jumped to 35 cases or so by Monday, and up to 59 by Wednesday, based on some testing that had been done at the Manchester Medical Center um, during the week. They use an antigen test, which basically is pretty reliable when it comes to measuring a positive case, but it's a relatively newer test that has been developed only this past year, and a lot of public health organizations are still a bit reluctant to kind of see it as reliable as the PCR test, or polymerase chain reaction test, that uh, public health organizations like, let's say, the Vermont Department of Health use in terms of measuring their cases. So there was a lot of concern, obviously, spread around the community. We saw a couple of shops either closing down again or reverting back to a curbside delivery or service situation during the week as word of these possible infections kind of got out. Those initial test results from the medical center prompted the Southwestern Vermont Medical Center to quickly stand up a pop-up test site at Riley Rank in Manchester, and on Wednesday they administered about 400 tests there, and then the following day, yesterday, another 400 tests, and they're still testing today. It wouldn't be surprising to eventually hear that another 400 were done. At the same time, up in Londonderry at the Floodbrook School, the Department of Health had a pop-up test site. They tested about 250 cases there. And earlier today, we just heard at Governor Scott's Friday press conference, Health Commissioner Mark Levine saying that they had gotten some information on 405 of those PCR tests that the Department of Health uses and that SVMC was using. And of those, all were so far negative. In other words, that there were no positive cases there, and they had also done some follow-up testing on the 59 of 17 of the 59 tests that have been done by the medical center, and of those 15 of those 17 were also negative. So I guess the initial takeaway is that a little bit less anxiety and stress may be called for, but obviously it was certainly a nerve-rattling experience for a lot of folks, and reminded us all that we aren't out of the woods yet by any means on this. Why these test results may have come in as they did, I mean, there's a lot of possible theories floating around. Folks from out of state coming here for the 4th of July and subsequent weekends. It's the summer tourist season about to get underway. Also, conversely, folks from here going out of state and traveling and maybe picking up the virus while they were away and bringing it back here, or maybe it was just it was summer season and folks were getting back into meeting up and barbecuing and gathering for social gatherings for one sort or another, and that contributed to a possible spread. But basically, we're kind of in a wait and see mode, I suppose you could say at this point, waiting to see how these test results are confirmed by the PCR tests, and hopefully the news there will also be a little more reassuring than initially that seemed to be the case. So that clearly was the big deal story of this week. I mean, there were a few other news items that we just want to mention to pass along. On Monday, July 20th, there will be another program rolled out to assist sole proprietors of businesses who so far haven't been able to qualify for some of the other packages that have been made available through the Federal CARES Act and passed through the state. Um, there will be a program that will be launched next week that will provide some grants of up to $10,000 for qualifying sole proprietors through a lottery draw. And again, that will be launched on Monday the 20th. You can go onto the Agency of Commerce and Community Development's website and learn more about that there. The lottery draw will be held on August 14th, and checks will be going out starting August 27th. So it's still a little bit of a time in between now and then when some of the sole proprietors who've been, struggling along with all the other folks trying to kind of navigate their way through the pandemic and its economic ripple effects. But nevertheless, there is something that might be available for some hard-pressed business folks who so far haven't been able to qualify for some of their support. Um, at this point, that's pretty much about it. We will be airing a interview we did with the Deputy Secretary of State, Ted Brady, and he'll be talking a little bit about this program and a few of the other programs that have been ramped up so far. And you'll be able to watch that on our website, GNAT-TV.org. And probably by next week, and it'll also be on our program channels as well. And just another reminder, mail-in balloting, and we've talked about this a couple of times now, but always worth reminding folks that your vote counts, every vote counts, and on August 11th is the state primary. A lot of statewide and local races will be decided, or who will be running on the November election ballots. We have one newcomer. We can just report that former Manchester Police Chief Michael Hall has announced that he's going to be a write-in candidate for the state Senate from Bennington County. So he'll be competing by himself on the Republican Party primary. So he'll probably, if he gets 50 votes, he'll be in the November election competing with the two incumbent state senators from Bennington County, Richard Sears and Brian Campion. So that's the latest news on the political front. But there'll be more to come for sure as we approach August 11th. One final note on the mail-in voting stuff. As you probably heard, mail-in balloting has become hugely popular. If you haven't already gotten your ballot, you might want to touch base with your town clerk or go to the Secretary of State's website, and you can get a ballot downloaded from there and mail that in when you've completed your ballot. Well, that'll do it for today. I want to thank you all for being with us. Been a pleasure chatting with you again. I'm Andrew McKeever for the GNAT-TV News Project, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next Friday. All right, take care and be safe.